wange. That is also a special one. Like of course all of you guys are all special. Abajaku for the love of cars every day. Nemujiraba. Nemujijumbira. Thank you very much. I hope your Sunday is doing well wherever you are. Abe and Alan, I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing okay as well. Yeah, so today is 2nd April. Then nakuzida asatu muluma, that's 61 plus 29, that's 70, 29 plus 61, 80, 70 days, 71, 72 days out of the 361 days. 360, 369, 361, 369. Whatever the number of days are in the year, I've forgotten that last figure there. But just know we are almost covering half the year. And whatever your goals were this year, I hope that God has made it possible for you to at least do quarter of them, because we have covered a quarter of the year. 3 months are done. And what that basically means for you is that if you set 12 goals, 3 of them are supposed to be off. Hi Gaetano, hi Martha. So you should have covered at least 3 of your goals if you have 12. If you have 6, you should have covered at least 2 of the goals. Is it? No. 1? That math is quite complicated, but I hope you get the point. If you have 24, you should have covered. If you have 24 goals, you should have covered 6 of the goals. Yeah, I think that's the correct math. So the first quarter of this year, the actual quarter of this year, forget about the quarter of the corporate guys. Abakora ma office namwe muina quarter yamwe. But I'm talking about the real quarter. Kwa kusente abakora my office, you guys have your own quarter that probably ends in April, and then you have 3 quarters. The guys that work in office. For us, the Bapambanyi, the year has 4 quarters, 3 months each. And of course the corporates, you have only 3 quarters. I think it's one way for those office guys to not pay the service providers properly, because weziba quarters satu namugana isene bagenda ziwe lizinga in the second quarter, batuka mu second quarter bana itibazi lizinze mulinde mukuzinde mu quarter esembayo batemo kwa atanti mugenda mu holiday. So that's what you corporate guys do. But for us in the Bapambanyi sector, we have 4 quarters and 1 quarter is done. I have to you love the channel more than cars. I'm humbled. I hope it returns the love, just the way you love it. Umanyi love is a feeling that should be reciprocated. Someone loves you right, you love them right. If you don't love them right, they stop loving you, and that's how it works. Olaba ne bibavana betwezalira omwana bwakulaga ntakwagala. You've seen parents nga bazaalukuka abaana baabwe, and then you wonder omwana wamuzaala teyakutuma. Why are you giving the kid conditions? It's like the kid I watch the inside of the car, so I don't want dust to come in. For once, I'm like JK. I watched the inside before I came to gym, and I don't want to get dust in here, so I'm going to be doing the car SC for now. I'm going to be doing car SC. Yeah, but regardless, we move. Bobato naiga kuvuga reversing atutunudde ngo kwesa side mirror bobato naiga moroka bagayi wange. That has got to be one of the best feelings when you can actually do reverse regardless of where you're driving at, and actually reverse without putting your head out there. I will go to a certain level of knowing how to drive your car. So today, unlike the other days, I actually have totally nothing basic to talk about. I haven't pointed out anything because today is a Sunday and I prefer that we relax and just jazz. Yeah, we all love cars, right? But I find that most of the times certain types of cars battery focused what they motor and all that, and I find that Sunday should be one of those days that we actually relax and just talk about whatever and whichever. And yeah, some people are like me. When they buy cars, a car is supposed to serve you. If you want to go buy charcoal, put the charcoal in the boot. If you want to go and buy matoke, even if it's 10 bunches, your car should be able to put the bunches of matoke in the boot. If it can't, then what's the purpose of that car? And that's what that Primo guy was doing. Racho pangisa pick up when you have a car of your own. So basically, that car should do everything. Subarus are becoming very, very popular. Subarus are actually becoming very popular. Musota has a blind spot at the back. That's the reason you experienced to back up in parking. But Musota has no back. It doesn't have a blind spot. I've actually never believed the fact that there are cars that have blind spots. I think it's just a weakness of a person. You see the way the side mirrors are developed. The side mirrors are developed to cover all the angles. They are designed to help you see the entire car. If you know how to set the side mirrors properly, the blind spot should not be there. The blind spot should not be there, especially if your car still has the original side mirrors. And actually my car doesn't have the original side mirrors, but I can still back up properly. I can even back up HGG properly. But I think also this thing comes with experience. The more experience you have as you drive, the easier it will be for you to drive certain angles and to drive in certain ways that give other people trouble. Hi, Patrick. I think Romeo. No. The spacious interior. You see, when they design cars and they make the car big, that's why you'll find that even the Rumion side mirrors are actually bigger to cover a bigger angle and to cover the entire car. So I don't believe that the aspect of blind spots is probably a learner trying to show you that okay, I knocked because of this, because there is a blind spot. I've never been the kind of person to believe, because if you found there are people that have never actually knocked in any circumstance, should we say that they drive too slow? No. I've had accidents, but I personally know that all the accidents I've had were because I was reckless. I was young and stupid, and by stupid I mean ignorant. I don't mean stupid. Everybody has the brain, and everybody has wisdom, but the level of wisdom differs. The level of the knowledge differs, and I find that at the time when I had accidents, I think I last had my very big accident. I was 22. That was 2012. I've not had any major, and trust me, sometimes I go really fast. But I see when I had that last accident, I told myself that accident was a result of my recklessness, and that I was never going to be reckless again. And even when I blunder, I pull myself up very quickly. And since then, I've not actually had a major one. So I'm very calculative when I'm driving, especially when I'm fast. So I've also been able to avoid accidents that would have been caused by the other guys on the road, like a taxi, because taxi drivers can actually cause a lot of accidents. But you need to be very calculative when you drive, to not fall into the trap of knocking a border guy because a taxi guy has blundered or made you blunder. So you don't blunder. And you also have to understand there is an imaginary white line in every road. You see those white and yellow lines that are in the center of the road? You always have to know there is an imaginary one. Now, on roads like this one, the one I'm driving on, this road is very old and it doesn't have the white or yellow line anymore. But for a person that has been driving or a person that learned the right way, you should always know that that imaginary line is always there. And the imaginary line should always be, when you're driving, should always be here. I don't know if it's here. That's where the imaginary line, or if you're driving in a road that has that yellow or white line, it should always be here when you're driving. If it comes this way, you're crossing onto the other side. And that's a very basic thing that anybody that teaches you the right way should teach you, that when you're driving and you're driving in a road where there is a line, you should just instinctively know that now I'm crossing to the other end, to the other lane, and that's one way for you to identify that you're on your own lane. Most of the time you can't see the rear lights by side mirror. That's just the design though. I think, but that doesn't define a blind spot. I don't think it defines a blind spot. I think one of the things that as you drive you should teach yourself is sensing the length of the car you're driving. You should sense the length of the car you're driving and know that if I reverse to this level, I've reached the bumper of my car. The other skill you should develop as you learn, as you drive, is also the skill of hearing the sound of the bumper knock things behind you, because that's the reason the bumper exists. The bumper exists to knock the things before the actual car knocks them, because the bumper doesn't actually knock. The bumper doesn't damage anything. In fact, if you're a good driver, that's why I discourage you guys from putting bumper guards, those metal guards on your cars, because with a metal guard on your car, whether you like it or not, you're going to damage other people's cars, even when you incidentally get only the scratch level. However, if your car doesn't have a bumper guard, you see that Vitz there, so why would you actually tell me that this Vitz looks ugly? Salongo Lwanga mujevale ko muva kuyiriba mukulike nemtekemu SC. So that's a friend of mine. He's a broker at Uganda Mataka. If any of you, I think like 3 of my followers have actually asked me for numbers of brokers. I've given you that guy's number. He's not a very bad guy, though I always tell all the people I give the numbers. Brokers are brokers. You never know. It may not actually be his fault that he dupes you. He may dupe you because he was duped. So you need to do your due diligence as you go to buy land from any broker. Even when you're going to buy cars from any broker, you don't just go because Arthur has given me the number and then you. But he's a good guy. He's a good guy. So that's the old Harrier, guys. Very comfortable. Actually, that's another one. That car is too comfortable. However, you see in my area in Matuga, all these guys that are driving these Harriers, actually they live in Kampala, and they are returning to their homes right now. They're probably coming from farms or from barriers or from functions and all. Nobody in my area code drives that car. And I can tell you the reason why they don't drive that car is because of fuel consumption. However, if you're the kind of person that you live in Tinda and work in Bukoto, I would be okay with you buying a Harrier. Because yes, it's 2,400 cc, it's 3,000 cc. But if you're living near your workplace, you can definitely drive that car. You can definitely drive that car. You would have no trouble. But if you live far away, like 20 kilometers from town, 14 kilometers, yemoroka egenda kutama. Okitegeera ejja kutama because of the consumption. Because of the consumption. So you need to understand. But that's one car that I would actually drive. It's too comfortable. Kawundo is comfortable, but the advantage of this Kawundo old model is that it's stronger than the Kawundo. The Harrier old model, I mean. The Harrier old model is stronger than the Harrier Kawundo. and that's probably one reason why I would recommend it more than the Kauno. And that's the Vista that I normally tell you. That I think that's green, that's black, that's whatever color that is. That's a Vista. And then for the guys that love Paso Setes, that's the Paso Sete. And then someone will tell you that the Paso Sete also has a blind spot. That's one thing I've grown to kind of not believe, that there is a car that has a blind spot. If you know how to drive, you should be able to sense that now I've reached an unsafe zone. And if you know how to drive, avoid putting guards on your car. I understand you're trying to say aba border, abachi, but I've driven this car for 2 years, and the no border guy has ever scratched my bumper. No border guy has ever taken my bumper off my car, and I don't have a bumper guard. You get it? And I've not had an accident via the front by any other car. Now, I've had an accident in the back where a Mercedes-Benz guy knocked me, and he gave me 400,000, which I ate. He knocked me on Christmas Day. He gave me 400K. I had some debts and I paid them. Now I've not yet bought a bumper. So for the guys that I help buy cars, if you find my rear bumper looking ugly, I ate the money that should have bought the bumper that got knocked. And that's how I have an ugly bumper. So but I'm going to buy a bumper very soon and replace it, and then my car starts looking better in the rear. However, I'm discouraging the bumper guards, those metal guards, because had that Mercedes-Benz guy knocked me and I had a guard, the accident would have been fatal, not only for me but also for him. You get it? Hi Stuart. Arthur, have you ever checked on cars sold by a broker at Maganjo Kutalo? No, I haven't. But I can tell you that that broker is a much India broker. What those brokers do is, because now they know people have lost trust in much India. So now they find locations. There's a broker that was saying, the guy was on Facebook, he was saying Nabweru. That guy, he was called Oba John Who. And then people learned that Nabweru has bad cars. So he changed his name. Now he started calling himself Oba John what? He's changed the name and even changed the location. Now he says Oba Nansana. So the brokers learn that you don't trust certain places, and they change. So they change the location. So now that broker is a much Indian broker. I've called him before. We were looking for cars the other day, and he had the cheapest fan cargoes on Gigi. So I was with my person here, the person that was interested in buying a fan cargo, and he said, but that fan cargo is cheap. You call the guy. We called the guy and said, we saw another cheap fan cargo. It was still the same guy, the same number. We just didn't bother calling him, because those guys, what they have cars, they post cars that don't exist, and then they put them in different places to pull you. So they'll post a price cheaper than what Arthur is telling you, and then bobo itikango orinya border god bikono Arthur tamanyi bya yogera broker una inawano Corolla ku milioni musanvu. Arthur doesn't know what he's talking about. But yonga bagamba, oh, the Corolla has just been bought, but we have a Chikumi, it's also a Corolla. And then that's when you will know that brokers are not a joking subject. Woo! I like SUVs simply because you can see everywhere. Yeah, and that's one reason why ladies actually like SUVs. Majority of women like SUVs because they believe that if they don't see the ground, probably they are going to knock something. But that's what I've told you, that when you learn how to drive a car, you start sensing things. Like you need to learn that your front tire is actually at the end of your dashboard. That's where the tires are. So as you turn, just sense that the front tire is at the end of your dashboard. Those are some of the things that you learn with time as you learn to drive. Then also the other thing that you probably need to learn is how to set the side mirrors. If you ever never took a blind spot and all, because even in my Corolla you can't see the rear lights. Who said rear lights? Abby. Even in my Corolla you cannot see the rear lights, by the way. Either the side mirrors reach a certain point and you cannot see, and probably that's what you call a blind spot. But in my head, I know that this is where now I've reached the end. And that's why they put a plastic bumper, so that in any case, if your senses are off, then you can actually feel the bumper knock the thing, poo, and then you know, now I need to actually stop. So that's why we have a plastic bumper. Katigoboteka ke chuma, and you're reversing, and you have that metal bumper guard, and there is a car behind you. When you knock, you'll actually be knocking another car with your metal bumper guard and not the plastic guard, which is safer. Do I have a car 2K? Yeah, so don't put those metal guards. It seems a trendy thing. They're even expensive. Jebaleko. Mpaka kumemba. Agaga. Oinabwa bobidi. Neto onsera.
Babidi bo.
Ogenda
skandis wa bay.
Ogenda busana.
For confused.
So you need to avoid. Some guy was telling me that they charged him I think they charged him 800 to put the front bumper and the rear bumper. God, why would you invest 800,000 to put something that is going to even spoil your car more? First of all, that metal guard makes your car heavier and it will consume more fuel than it should. Secondly, that metal guard is a hazard to your car. Should you at any time fail to brake, the plastic bumper another car's bumper, the bumpers will hit each other, okay, and probably no damage will be done. But if you have a metal guard in front and that metal hits another bumper, the other bumper will be damaged. Your car may not be damaged, but you're going to spend money on the other car. Yet if it were bumper to bumper, you can actually negotiate with this guy and tell him you can actually negotiate with this guy and tell him, man, so you are. I've been in these situations before. I've been in such situations before where I hit someone's car from behind, okay, from the front, when I hit their rear bumper, and because it's bumper, there is no damage. He just feels the impact of the car that someone has knocked me, but when he gets out, there is no visible damage on the bumper, and then I can actually tell him, man, so you was a so you are, and this is something that we have all been through. Sometimes you're going through a rough day and things are not going well, and you're sorry, network off. MTN is supposed to be slow here, so I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So you, as long as you understand that once in a while it might happen, then you'll avoid those metal bumpers. Okay, now metal bumpers on government cars, why are they there? Those government people, they have unlimited budgets to fix their cars. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Also, some of these cars are comprehensively insured. So comprehensive insurance will pay the person whose car is damaged. They'll also pay for this car in case it gets damaged. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So for those guys who take a metal bumpers, they actually don't lose anything, and it looks trendy. And some of these Land Cruisers come with the metal bumpers, the metal bull bars. They are already made in the factory. Some of them are not even steel. So for you to buy a Fielder, you buy a Wish, you buy a Corolla like mine, of course you will not go to a mechanic and tell him, I want to put a bumper on my car, and he says no, don't put one. But Abajapani Boba Siru, they are not to sell us cars that don't have bumpers. And you need to understand that some of these cars that have bumpers already made, they were made for off-road. That if I'm going up a hill and I hit a stone, I don't have that plastic thing. It's the metal that gets hit. And they are made in a way that they are made with the chassis. But your metal is not made with it. That metal bump guard you want to put on your car is not made with the chassis. So you fix it on the car, and the weight was not calculated. Probably your car was made to carry 1,000 kilograms. Total 1,000 kilograms maximum. So you put two metal guards in the front and in the back, and that will probably give you what? The front one gives you, let's say, 20 kgs. The rear one gives you 20 kgs. You are putting 40 kgs extra weight on this car that was not supposed to be there. And let me tell you one thing. The automakers right now are reducing weight from cars. Do you know that some of these new cars don't even have spare tires? Do you know why they don't have spare tires? The automakers realize that the less weight this car has, the more fuel efficient it is. They are telling you it's fuel efficient. And one of the reasons why it's fuel efficient is because it doesn't even have spare tire, no jack, no nothing. It's just the car and the seats. You get it? Kati gwe nogikwata nogitekako bumper guard because anti makanika wange yangambye okwewala ababoda okugikoonamu gitekeko bumper guard. Gwe ababoda obanoonyako ki? What are you going to be doing knocking down boda guys? You only need to be careful as you drive. You need to be vigilant as you drive to make sure that you don't go knocking people. You get me? I don't even remember the last time I knocked a boda guy. What's again? And yet I'm driving an old car. Kati, it comes with experience. Avoid bumper guards, banagi mweba guy. You buy your car, it's really nice, it's really efficient. It takes you 20 kilometers per liter. You put a bumper guard, it starts going 15 kilometers per liter. No, you buy plugs, you buy air cleaners. Kumbe, you put a bumper guard on your car. Personally, I'm about to remove the spare tire from my car because I want my car to give me more miles on the gas. Which take it on my fuel. Actually, I'm going to remove the spare tire tonight. Because majority of the time, if my tire, if I get trouble with my tire at work, like the petrol station is across the road, so I can take it and get it fixed. So I don't need a spare tire when I'm in town. I'm removing the spare network again, so you can go home. Bananas are good. You guys, did you hear that NEMA outlawed the directive for us to have dustbins in our cars? It was simply, I don't know what to term it as, but it was just not a good thing. You can't tell me that the only thing that is making me throw rubbish outside the door is the fact that I don't have a dustbin. And you see these like the banana husks. I was in Norway and I was seated in someone's car and he told me that in Norway these are allowed to be thrown out on the road like that. Do you know why? Because those ones decompose. So as long as you don't throw that one on the tarmac and you throw so as long as you don't throw on the soil, that is allowed even in Norway. Okay, now I don't know how other people interpret the laws, but I was with the native Norwegian telling me that. And actually, because I had finished eating a banana, we were coming from a concert and we had bananas. You know, when you perform, those guys after you have performed, they actually give you flowers, they give you stuff. So someone gave us bananas, and I had eaten a banana and I was putting it here, and he was telling me no, that one you can actually throw out as long as it doesn't land on the tarmac, lands on the ground where it can actually decompose. So for those guys at whichever ministry, I don't even remember, whichever ministry thought that forcing us to buy dustbins and putting them in our cars will be the one thing that will stop us from throwing rubbish outside. Very cool. Now you see, I live in an area where people actually farm, so a banana ground. So me putting it in a dustbin and taking it home where it will not even help me doesn't help. If I throw it in someone's garden, it will help by manuring the place. I think the issue with Mosota is because it has a longer wheelbase. That one needs to adopt to yeah. But it's a very, oh my god, that Mark II is comfortable. It's very comfortable. I enjoyed driving it. Of course, this car is comfortable, but the other one was I had to stay away from that big car. The Harrier, you are literally, I'm not a steward. I don't know which country you're in, but Nzembanyumiriza my experience. What I did there is good for the environment. That's a banana husk. Banana husks decompose. When they decompose, they manure the ground and the ground becomes more fertile, which we all want. So that's not littering, especially in the kind of place where I am. Let me just show you where I am. See? So that banana husk is actually going to be, if it were a Cavera, that would be very dangerous for the environment. And I think these are things that these guys are supposed to be telling us and teaching us, that Bosura Chino, it's bad, Bosura Chiri, it's okay, Bosura Wano, it's okay, and things like that. But apparently they're there in their offices eating their money. Yeah, you are right. SUVs have an independent chassis and body, while our small cars have a unibody. Chassis combined with body. that's not ideal for heavy guards. Thank you very much. Now, Alan is a professional, so he agrees with what I'm saying. You guys should actually avoid putting guards. You buy a Primo new model. It was made for a certain kind of weight to save fuel. I'm dumping my spare tire. Of course, I'm going to keep the jack, but I know the spare tire gives me a kind of weight, and I'm going to try and monitor the fuel consumption now without the spare tire. Yeah, but regardless, I hope you guys are doing well today. Today is a dark day. It started with the sun. The sun was really bright, and then the rain. Where I am, the rain came for 30 to 40 minutes, and then it went away. And I think it's the rain that spoiled the day by making it a little dark. Yeah. So don't forget, guys. Tuesday is Market Tuesday. Alan, when are you opening our place? When are you opening our place? The kind of knowledge you have should be put into practice. So yeah, you don't me, I'm the kind of person, when I get new knowledge, I start a new venture, and so far all those ventures have actually been working out for me. I was talking to someone, and they allegedly said that the fuel a Musota consumes in a day, it's the same amount cars like Sienta consume in 3 days. Does he have a Musota? Does he have a Mark II? Because that's another thing. And which Mark II does he have? Because there are two cars that are Musotas. There is the Musota which has an engine, the engine that Martha called Mugongo Gwambwa. Okay? Now that engine is the old Vegeta. What do they call that engine? I've forgotten the code. Alan, maybe you would help me. There is a Mark II that has an old engine. Now that old engine drinks fuel like it was sent to drink it. But the Musota I'm talking about is the one that has a Beams 2000 engine. I drove 2 of them. The other one drinks fuel like it's drinking water. This one consumes fuel like a car should. And you know the issue with Mark II is it's very fast, it's very stable on the road. So because it gives you those 2 things, and it's very comfortable as well. So because it gives you those 2 things, people misuse it. People overspeed in that car because, well, there are speeds that Corolla cannot go. Ngera, if you go the 1JZ, yeah, thank you, Alan. That engine consumes fuel. I think that the 1JZ is the Beams 2000. The 1JZ is the Beams 2000. But there is an engine that came before that was in those Mark IIs. There are Musotas that don't have the Beams 2000. Okay, those ones consume. And also when you get, like my car, there are corners I cannot take when I'm beyond 50 kilometers per hour. Because if I try to take them, the car will roll, definitely. Because this car was not made for speed. But the Mark II, on the other hand, is more stable. So you can actually take turns when you're at 100 kilometers and the car will not roll. That's the difference between the Mark II and the Corolla. So because the Mark II actually gives you that kind of confidence, people overspeed when they're driving the Mark II. And that overspeeding also gives them a lot of fuel consumption. The other thing that people do when they drive Mark IIs is they drive with SC, like full time. Just like the guys that drive Mark X. They have SC engaged full time. And that's also something that consumes fuel. The other thing that happens with Mark II guys, because the engines literally never break down, the guys that drive Mark IIs never ever people in Zobutamanya. So they drive those Mark IIs with bad spark plugs. They drive those Mark II with bad fuel pumps. You get. So literally they'll drive the Mark II which is in bad condition, and they would ignore it because the engine is already powerful. So even when it's in bad condition, it literally moves like it's not in bad condition. And you will basically drive a car that is in bad condition and not know. That's one thing that has happened with Mark II. But immediately when I bought my Mark II, the Musota, I went to Toyota Uganda and I bought 6 plugs. And I kid you not, I bought all those plugs at 111,000 shillings. 110, not 111. 110,000 shillings. Which again, me, the one thing I do every time I buy a car, I go to Toyota Uganda and buy plugs. I've bought 2 sets of plugs in this car, and I've bought all of them at 60-something thousand shilling. I think 68,000 you get. So that's what I've done with my Corolla. It's the same thing I did when I had a Vitz, the same thing I did when I had a Mark II. I do that every time if I can afford the plugs. Of course, if you want to buy plugs for like a Sienta, a Primo new model, the Fielder, the Paso Sete, and you want to buy plugs from Toyota Uganda, you'll buy them at like 500,000, but they are totally worth it because those plugs were made for that specific engine. In fact, when you go to Toyota Uganda, they will ask you for the chassis number of your car, okay? And when you give them the chassis number of your car, they'll tell you your plugs will cost you this much. Should I create the invoice? You get. And no, you don't pay this guy. You can actually even pay with Visa card, because most of the times that I bought plugs from Toyota, I pay with my Visa card. I don't pay cash. You get. And I can tell you my plugs for this car at Toyota Uganda, they cost me 68. The plugs for the Mark II, they are 6. Were they 6? Yeah, they are 6. They cost me, I bought them 110. Which take it. So I would highly recommend that you go to Toyota Uganda and buy those plugs. If you buy a Toyota, if you go to like a Bond and buy a new car, those plugs are still good. It's original. In fact, to show you that those plugs, Toyota sells you the real plugs that are sold that are supposed to be for that engine. Unlike the plugs you're going to buy from Chiseka, when you go to Toyota and you buy plugs, they'll look exactly like the plugs that you got when you bought that car from the Bond. Also tell us the logic behind your DIY seatbelt cover. The logic is simple. I like white, okay, and I like plain colors. These seatbelts, it's not as clean the way you can see it, and it doesn't matter how much you clean, it might never get clean. So I made this leather thing because for it I can actually clean it with a piece of cloth. So I got this leather thing and put it here, so that when I put on my white attire, I can actually just adjust this thing and put it here, and then my white attire will not get dirty. So that's like the logic behind it. And you'll find that most of the people that drive old cars, they learned this trick because chine original chamo. Of course, the passenger seat belt is actually better. Let me see if it can come all the way here. It's refusing. Let me see if you can see it from here. So you see the passenger one is actually better. For it doesn't have 2 things, it's 1. You see? So the reason I did that is because this leather thing is easier to clean. So you get a piece of cloth and clean it, and then your white clothes will not get dirty. But the reason, one of the reasons why people don't like to use seat belts is because the seat belts are normally dirty. Which again, especially for cars that are old like mine, which my car, I bought it from Masaka, and the guy Yali Mukade, of course he was rich, the rich guys that are old fashioned, that kind of guy. And his car the windows were always, I was even surprised the AC worked. Like the AC worked, like we put gas, we fixed the fuse, and the AC was blowing cold. But for him, the windows were always down, so you can imagine the kind of dirt that is even in the seat belt. I tried to wash it and it did not get clean, and that's when I thought of this. Yeah, so that's the logic and that's the use. Yeah, so you would recommend that one goes to Toyota for parts and repair, not repair. You cannot afford the repair at Toyota. Even the rich guys in town, they don't go to Toyota Uganda. But for parts, if you can afford a part at Toyota Uganda, especially if you have just bought your car and it's new, and that applies for the parts that they have, because they don't have all the spare parts. Which again, you realize that you want to go and buy shock absorbers, and they have them. And the shock absorbers in the market here at Chiseka Market, they are 100, and for them they are telling you a pair is 400. I would highly recommend that you go and buy if you can afford. But I find that with our kinds of roads, the shock absorbers actually sold at Chiseka are not the problem. The roads are the problem. If you have bad roads, it doesn't matter the quality of shock absorbers you put in your car. Every 6 months or every year, you are bound to buy shock absorbers. The only solution you'd have is probably rent an apartment in Tinda. If you work in town, then probably you can save your shocks and drive them for like 2 to 3 years. But if you drive the normal common roads that I drive, every year you're bound to change shocks at most every 2 years. And for 2 years, if you take 2 years, chances are high that you have been ignoring the sound of your shock. Because shock zimanyi okufana tuzivuga omwaka oba emyaka ebiri nga tetuzitaddemu, and we just drive. A friend of mine used to tell me, asa bw'onodda mu kuwuliriza emmoroka ab'ewaka tebajja kulya. So for him, he made sure that he doesn't listen to certain sounds. As long as the car can move, the engine is okay, the gearbox, he just goes. Until one day when he beats a diru, akuba chidiru, and then he has like a 500k to spare, and then he fixes whatever he has to fix. But for him, anything that doesn't stop the car from moving, he doesn't fix. Which take it. That's why you'll find that actually guys have cars that are new, and those cars are parked. But you find someone has a UBM and it's parked. And why is it parked? Mbuno simanya bushi yakubye ate makanika na atafuna budde, so the car slept in the garage. When will you make my car go and sleep in the garage? Actually, even the day I'm going to change the engine, it will not sleep in the garage. We change the engine there, I drive my car home. You get, because the car is busy, it has work to do. Actually, the other day my mechanic was saying, Atha nawe tompa budde kulowooza kutetenkanya, like nkwobudo tetenkanya eki. Like emoroka yo Atha ebeera busy all the time. Yes, that's why I bought it. I bought it to be busy. Yeah. Your SC is fire, but you need to replace the blower. Yes, Alan, I understand. And my mechanic has replacing on days when we are going to. I need to replace the blower. It makes the sound. Yeah. Sorry guys. Network. We are connected again. I will replace the blower, Alan. I think one of these days, and it's not expensive. I think it's like 40k. Then, like I said, I think at this period is very busy for me. Arthur, how much can I get a used Sienta in good condition? Can you also please tell us about what you think? The Sienta is okay. Let me just show you the road. This farm you see here belongs to one afande called Kazora. Oba is a major, Oba is a Kano, Oba is a general, Oba is a what? So he sponsors this road to be dug, like from time to time. And yeah, these days. I think they have done it for like now 3 days. So I think Monday or Tuesday they will be done. And it had a lot of potholes, but now it's yeah, it's better. Sienta shock absorbers banange jekke n'oluzungulo naawe oyagala kubeera nga mukyala wange ancorrectinga buli kiseera, and I tell her, you at least I speak good English. They absorb or they absorb, because absorbing both, by the way, JK, you'll find that both are okay. You'll find that probably the UK, the British call it absorber, and the Americans call it absorber. You get it? Because this is like the third day. I think they do it for like 4 days. Yeah, and they have inclined it properly. I don't know if you guys in construction, JK, this is proper. They are trying to incline it so that the water doesn't stay in the road. Yeah, I think they are doing okay. I'm actually glad I'm not on this like main road, because with my car, every time they dig, then I have to pay the grader guy to make the road to my place better. Because just imagine if my house was kinda there and then they have just dug, I would have to pay someone to actually have to make my the way to my home better. But because I have like three roads that go to my home, if they dig this one, then I use another one. Shock absorbers. JK, I hope you're doing well. JK sazeko na kunsala nsobi. Atandi shock absorber. Shock absorber. I think even shock absorber is okay. So who is this? This is Adventure. I think the Sienta is an okay car. It's an okay car as long as you don't tamper with the gearbox. You'd actually be okay. Let me just put the window down. There is no dust to get here. So I think as long as you don't tamper with the gearbox, you should be okay. Just do service normally. Of course, the spark plugs at Toyota Uganda will cost you 500 or 600, but you should be okay. It might not even get to 500. Probably 390, 400 or 420 there. Those are the plugs for the Sienta. And if you buy a Sienta that is in still good condition, one thing I would totally recommend is that you change the air cleaner every time you do service. That's something I'm getting used to, because I drive in dusty roads. It's very dusty. So if I drive this road for like a month or two, I should be changing the air cleaner. And I do my service every 2 months. And I drive like 7 kilometers of this in the morning, 7 kilometers in the evening. So that's a lot of dust. I don't know what you think, Alan, but I found that every time I do service, my air cleaner is really dirty, and the car is actually even struggling. So yeah, but if you have a new car, every time you do service, choose an air cleaner, and probably every 2 years or every 1.5 years, depending on how the plugs look, change the plugs. The problem is they grade the road well, but water normally has nowhere to go, and it ends up spoiling the road again. Yeah, I think that's normally the problem. This particular road has stayed like this for some time because the guys that have gardens redirect the water to go to their gardens. They inclined it to one end, but the guys that have gardens redirect the water to go to their gardens. Teenage years. And guys are building some. This is another route to my home. Guys are building some big houses here. I think that's like a 4-bedroom over 5-bedroom. And then there are some very simple houses that I like. I don't know if I showed you this other house that I really like. That word doesn't exist. Absorber, but it absorbs. JK, the shock absorbers absorb shocks. The shock from the ground. I like this house. It looks very simple. Of course, they have not yet entered. They're still doing the finished touches. But I like the simplicity of this house. You see the pillars? They look nice. And then there is that cutting they do on the window that looks really nice. The house is simple. I think the only thing that betrayed it is the burglar proofs, the burglar guards. The design is so common for a house that is not so common. It's a very simple house that is, I think the design is foreign or British or European. That's a European design. Look at all that free land up there. But I don't know if they are selling those plots down there. But look at all that free land. And all that green, beautiful. That's why they call it the Pearl of Africa. Very beautiful. And for the guys that have not yet bought land, Wanobatundao, this particular place, I think my neighbor showed me this place. And the guy is selling these 2 plots. This place that has maram, they are selling 2 plots here. And this is kind of like a main road. It includes even this rock. The plots they are selling, they has the rock and then the maram. So abadde tanagula plotting oyagala okujjewa for ogule ettaka. But these ones are a little expensive. You would probably buy them like probably over 35. I think it's selling like 17. Each plot is 17. Yeah. They absorb. It doesn't seem right to absorb. It feels like my son Aban is saying the word. He's supposed to say absorb, and then he can't say so he says it doesn't sound right for people that studied English in Uganda. That's probably why we say shock absorber, because absorbing seems authentic. Smart people nowadays are leaving town to settle in those quite slightly distant places. Not really smart. I think one of the reasons why I bought land and settled this way is because I didn't have the money to buy land in Chira. But trust me, if I had like a 50 lying there for land, they're saying we don't settle. I doubt people actually settle this way. Most of the people that settle this way, they settle this way because of the quiet. No. And then this pasture is belongs to one of my neighbors. Steering yamakange mujiwulira. Yebale baba. Right. That's one of my neighbors. I've got a space yako. Mweba guy. Arthur, what's the name of that place where those plots are? This is the Zion Estate. Zion Estate Matuga. You just Google Zion Estate Matuga. It's only one. Teach him. No, actually, Urban pronounces words properly these days. Against the teachers are doing a very good job. Arthur, you're making up your own words. Absorb seems much more authentic. Absorb? No. Mr. Arthur, how much can I get that used Sienta in good condition? Sienta, I would actually tell you to budget for kind of like 15 million. That's what I would tell you. Because even a person that has a Sienta that is like U80, which will not be very good, will be selling it at like 12, 13. So if you want one that has not been overused, healthy gearbox, because now the Sienta problem has been the gearbox. Because Sientas were being driven by beginners, they were always duped to service their gearboxes, and that spoiled them. Robert,
how are you?
I'm okay. How are you today?
You reached well that day?
Yeah, we reached well. Okay. Yeah. Badi jebariko kale mulira abataka bokukyalo. You have to greet people. Otabuza abantu nabo tebakwagala. Jeke Kawundo ogisobola era bw'okoma ojanga ogigula mpaana agange nkuyambeko. Nkimanyi obimanyi naye jangu pewe sente ogabe athali ku sente okitegeera. Actually oyinza okugenda ng'omanya abayayi ne bakuba buli omu. Olaba babba mu 7 nga alina ne ba advisor 10 bayinza nawe okukubako. Kati ojja wano oyinza okujja wano ng'olimu Olungereza lungi nga you call it absorber instead of absorber. Ne bakuba nga bo bagunza absorber. I'm now Jeke Kawundo, just like Martha Ipsum. Yeah. Yeah. Alan, you people, if you have 50 million to buy land in Namugongo or Chira, buy. Don't feel guilty. You don't have to come in the village. I will tell you about Ubekaza. But the fact of the matter is, people are buying land this way because of budget constraints. I can tell you that if I had in cash before I built, if I had in cash half the money that I've used to build my house where I am, I would have bought land in Chira, Montegeira, or Namugongo, or Gayaza, or Kasangati, because there were plots in that budget range in organized places. But at that time, I didn't have the money to buy land in those areas. And that is the same thing that has happened to literally everyone that lives in my estate. Actually, the people that bought land here before me, that built the houses before me, they bought their plots even cheaper than me. And the people that are buying plots right now are buying them more expensive than me. Me, I bought my plot 10 million. The people that are buying now are buying them 15 million. You get, eh? So I don't want you to even feel guilty if you can afford to buy a plot of land in Chira. Go and buy it and live in town. I don't know if I make sense. If you can afford to buy land in Chira, buy it. Nzera bina abasajja bamaje bebesiruwaza nkuwe sente oyagala mmeka nze bwajanga mugama pazino okitegeera nga nzijayo ze nasamwa ngende ekira. People will never tell you this truth. Abantu bajja sigala bagamba nedda jangu ogule eno, come and buy this way, only if you cannot actually afford to buy in Chira or Namugongo. But if you can afford to buy land in Chira, Namugongo, Gayaza, Kasangati, what other place? Bulenga, because those are places like 14 kilometers from town. Eh? If you can afford to live 14 kilometers from town, live 14 kilometers from town. Me, I came 35 kilometers because living 14 kilometers from town was way beyond my budget. Which I have a home on an acre in Matuga than I rather have a home on an acre in Matuga than a 50 by 100 in Tinda. You'll have to be lucky to get land at 50 million in Chira. I disagree. Me, I would rather have a home in 50 by 100 in Chira or in Tinda. Do you know why? Because then I can get to work easily. My kids can get to school easily, at least the school they go to right now, which take it. So if I could, I would actually build a home there, because in my estate, the people that have the biggest land have like 2 plots, 250 by 100, which makes that 200 by 100. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So even them, they don't have very big plots. Even the guys in Abadi loaded Abavuga, the big cars. They like now the guys that drive Alphas, because those are the guys that would actually be having a lot of money right now. Those guys, they have 250 by 100 plots. So that's why I'm telling you that the guys that come and live this way actually are coming here because they don't have that money to buy land in Chira, to buy land in Namugongo, to buy, you get it? That's the Rakwanti abantu bekaz and bekaliza mbintu byabwe nze seka zanze mbabulira nze songa lwaki najjeno was because I didn't have that big money to at that time I didn't anticipate that I could actually be able to build the kind of house that I'm building. Naye mu mpola ngabo nabagamba mortgage yafe na Uganda, I could actually build the house in Pora bofuna ye 10 nokola nofuna ye 2 nokola nofuna ye 1 nokola ukitegeera. But it and the money I've used so far zandi bade so rogula a protein Chira, not Chira, Gayaza, and get a plan approved. Ngeliko boys quarter nenzimba ne boys quarter ne nyingira. And I'll tell you, in Gayaza there are some places that are really organizing as ababede kati nenga plots bazituna million ya 35 ukitegeera million ya 4. Of course, in Chira right now, Chira is 80 million, 80 to 100. But Gayaza, you can still get. I think even Kasangati. But those places now, as the singers are Kabaka land, Sibiapa. So you actually don't have titles of ownership. I think we bazita baloya. You get it? The seller should be desperate for money. Yeah. Ne Arthur, Beams 2000 VVTi and 1.8 Honda engine. I think Muzaffar, they would consume the same if I think there are two possibilities. The one possibility is that the ordinary 1.8cc engine consumes more, or it consumes the same as a 2000 Beams 2000 engine. Beams 2000 tenyo abanange sagala mujite tebagikutisa na jikutisa tebagikutisa nze najivugako, and that one I speak from experience. That one I speak from experience. Sorry, I was taken up by something here that I'm looking at. But I have to go, guys. Thank you very much for being part of this broadcast. But I tell you, don't mistake the ability to get to work on time. Apart from the ability to get to work on time, living next to most of the amenities that make life easy, having the access to shopping malls that make life easy, having access to the airport on time, living in places where the roads are good. I know even the guys in Chira don't really have good roads, but Chira is much. If you're driving a road that is driving 7 kilometers of really, really, really bad road, and driving 4 kilometers of really, really bad road, I would rather drive 4 kilometers of bad road. Katene wafe wandi badoke senga government yabade tufako nekola ku ngudo za fene zikola nga nonyi, but you can imagine that road mugaga ya lulima which tegera, and that's something that the government should be doing. Nayo mugaga actually na bagaga abaliyo ababayine agamataka manene, every mugaga ali eno mukozi wa government aina grade ku farm ye, you get it? So I think the civil servants, instead of actually making the services good for the rest of the people, they keep their money to themselves and they buy graders for their farms. Even in Chitukutwe, I will take some luck to get 50 by 100 at 50 million. Let me work for Chirarubo and Kawuku. Era alaninza omuntu najja wano nga yesinisa amannyo nga mpa sente ze nassaawo muwaawo nzire ngenda ekira I'm telling you oba ngenda eggayaaza ebintu bijjemu okwekaza. The reason why you go and build far away from town, it's the Mark II. Toyota Mark II. I think it's a Toyota Mark II 100. Jibaita Mark II 10. Eri baali bagiyita 9. I bought my neighbor's plot in Chikutu during COVID, but I had wanted it for some time. COVID abantu katoyo yadde eno waffe. Era bwe wamugula yago yali awedde najja n'agula eno waffe n'azimba ekizimbe gaggadde. Okitegeera. Yeah, COVID was a blessing for guys that had cash lying down there. Okitegeera. Yeah. But anyway, Mark II Grand. Yeah, there's now bajita bamanyo jita Mark II Grand. So Alan, Abby, Gaetano, Martha, Patrick Isabiri Anderson, Stuart, Clip Films, Adam Ogisha, Adventure, JK, Ansamba Muzafaru. I think those are the guys that have engaged today. And the guys that are in Kamori, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this broadcast. And the guys that download it, thank you for downloading it. I don't take it for granted. Don't forget, I do pre-purchase inspection. If you're going to buy a car and you don't want to make a mistake, you don't want to be duped, you don't want to buy a bad car, I can help you buy one. I can help you select one that is in good condition. You pay just like a small fee, 400,000 to cater for me and the mechanic. I come with the mechanic. And akasenta akasigala okay kanyambako to make sure that these broadcasts keep going. And so that JK Kawundo mukitegedde bannange katomba mita JK Kawundo olukomawo e Kampala agenda kugula kawundo agenda kujjampa emitwalo gyange anandyeko. Anyway guys, have a very good evening. I'll see you tomorrow morning. God bless.